Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into the absolutely incredible life of Chandradeo Prasad Verma. We're going to trace his whole journey, tracking his massive evolution from an anti-colonial radical all the way to an institutional leader in India. It's a fascinating case study, really, about how the methods you use to fight for justice can completely transform over a single lifetime, even while your core mission stays exactly the same. Okay, let's just kick things off with a pretty wild question to set the stage. I mean, think about it for a second. How does a young freedom fighter who literally attempted to blast the Bikram airport in Patna eventually ascend to the highest corridors of Indian political power as a union minister? It's crazy, right? His story completely challenges everything we tend to assume about the line between being an anti-government revolutionary and becoming a top-tier government official.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the Radical Freedom Fighter.
So, born in 1921 into the Coherian community in British India, Verma was definitely not someone who just passively observed the struggle for independence. The timeline of his early years shows a really rapid succession of rebellious action. In 1940, working alongside major leaders like Swami Sahajanand Saraswati, he's deep in the South Bihar sugar mills labor strike at Bihar. Then, just 2 years later, he throws himself entirely into the massive Quit India movement. And as you might expect, this relentless defiance naturally caught the attention of the British authorities, leading to his arrest in 1943. Now, his actions came with some extremely harsh consequences. Verma endured 2 solid years of rigorous imprisonment, getting moved between central jails in Patna, Gaya, and the Fulwari Sharif camp. But here's the crucial takeaway. This punishment didn't break him. Not at all. When he was finally released in 1945, his commitment to freedom had survived entirely intact. Actually, it was after this release that he made that daring attempt to blast the Bikram airport. So, yeah, he was as revolutionary as ever.
Moving right along to Section 2, Champion of the Marginalized. Fast forward in 1947, India gains independence. The British are gone, right? But Verma looks around and quickly recognizes that a new nation doesn't automatically mean a fair nation. So he pivots. He transitions his immense energy from fighting a foreign empire to fighting for the dignity of the local working class. He totally dedicates himself to the cause of low-income groups, Dalits, and the socially oppressed. The primary target was no longer colonialism, it was social injustice and caste-based oppression. And he grounded this advocacy in some seriously highly organized actions. He took up the case of 384 civilian Air Force employees stationed in Gwalior, and he led light railway workers in Ada Sasaram and Fatwa Islampur who were facing government eviction. He even served as the president of the Bihar State Leather Industries Association for almost 3 decades. He was basically taking all that fierce energy of a street rebel and channeling it into the organized, bureaucratic power of trade unions. But you know, his impact went way beyond just union organization. It bled right into direct mentorship. Verma actually persuaded his close associate, Chandradeo Prasad, to deeply study political ideologies, viewing them as a practical tool to improve the social status of Dalits. Prasad actually followed this advice, adopted socialist politics, and eventually founded his own party, the Socialist Samaj Dal, becoming a massive legendary figure for the lower castes. So in a way, Verma was quietly planting the ideological seeds for a much broader socialist movement.
Now, the year 1957 marks a pivotal moment. It's an expansion in his toolkit for social change, and it really shows us that systemic change requires working from multiple angles. That year, he wrapped up his tenure as the chief editor of Janata, which was a Hindi weekly shaping public discourse. But simultaneously, he founded GJ College at Beta, serving as its secretary. He clearly recognized that education and journalism were just as crucial to empowering the marginalized as union organizing was.
Which brings us to Section 3, Ascent to Political Power.
Having organized workers and students, Verma eventually took his fight directly into the Legislative Assembly. But if you think he lost his rebellious streak, think again. Just look at the 1974 total revolution started by Jai Prakash Narayan in Bihar. This was a massive, sweeping political movement against what they viewed as the authoritarian rule of the Indira Gandhi government. Despite holding formal offices by this time, Verma was heavily involved. He was absolutely still willing to challenge the highest levels of the establishment. The contrast across his lifetime is just striking. I mean, the exact same man who is an imprisoned rebel trying to blast an airport eventually evolved into an emblem of institutional power. He was elected to the Lok Sabha, the lower house of India's parliament, from the Arrah constituency 3 separate times, in 1977, 1980, and 1996. The ultimate outsider had officially become the ultimate insider. And finally,
Section 4. A lasting socialist legacy. His political service up until his passing in 2005 was just incredibly extensive. From his early days in the Congress Socialist Party to serving as chief whip for the Praja Socialist Party, he just continuously scaled the political ladder. He was a multi-term member of the Bihar Legislative Assembly, serving as a cabinet minister with diverse portfolios like agriculture, health, and excise. By June 1996, he reached the national stage as the Union Minister of State for Rural Areas and Employment. He used these hugely influential platforms to enact his lifelong pro-labor, pro-Dalit agenda right from the inside out.
Because really, whether he was a member of the Mahatma Phule Trust in his later years, or sitting in the Union cabinet literally making national policy, his fundamental philosophical core never wavered. He consistently struggled for the cause of low-income groups. The mission remained absolutely identical. He just changed his methods to whatever was the most effective lever of power for the era he was living in.
So, when we look back at Chandradeo Prasad Verma's entire arc, from a rebel in a prison camp to a reformer in parliament, it leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. Does true systemic change actually require starting as an outsider to break the rules before you can become an insider with the power to rewrite them? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this journey has sparked your curiosity to go out and explore even more about these historical figures on your own. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.